Action. And rolling.
Hit me with another question.
I don't know if that answers it, but
So do I look in here or do I look in there?
Just look at Xavier.
Okay.
If you think back to 2014, 7 years ago, can you just sort of describe the person that you were and what's different and what's similar to now?
Yes, 28, about to turn 29. Was having a late run at trying to play professional cricket. I had this story in my head that I'd sacrificed my 20s for AIME, and I was like, oh, maybe I can have a go at this. AIME was in this pretty solid spot. You know, we'd had a decade or so of running and built a bit of an established reputation, and had broken through a lot of the doubt, and you know, we're in a really, really sort of strong place in Australia for working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids.
Yeah.
AIME News, first story.
An organisation with an ambition to see more Indigenous Australians achieve tertiary education.
Last year, volunteer university students mentored youngsters. All those in Year 12 completed their HSC.
My name is Rianne Miller. I'm a proud Wirangu, Narungga and Waggatha woman. 7 years ago, I graduated as an AIME student in the program. I have now taken on the role of associate designer, and for the last 3 to 5 years have worked across kind of all global programs, working with the teams on the ground to be able to mentor kids around the world. I applied for my role at AIME the week after I graduated from high school as a 17-year-old kid. Jack said I was way too young for the gig. I kind of challenged him on it because I was like, well, you know, the ethos of AIME is that you're not too young to lead, so give me the chance and, you know, I'll step up, I'll do whatever I need to do to prove that I want to make an impact in the Aboriginal community here in South Australia. And he put me on a 3-month probation, and I walked out of the interview feeling incredibly proud of myself. And then a couple of weeks later, we got flown to Sydney for the staff AIME Institute, and that's where that photo's from. It was my first day at AIME, my first real experience of being a staff member, which was very different from being a kid in the program. And you know, it was there where I got to meet people that would shape who I am today, that would mentor me throughout the process.
My name is Hope Wright. I started AIME in Year 8. The whole way through Year 8 I was like bullied and didn't really find my place with any friend groups. But I had this really good Indigenous teacher called Mr. Thomas, and he had been sending kids to AIME for like ever, and he made me go. I really didn't want to, and I ended up really liking the program. And then I became like really close with Rianne, and she was like pushing me and supporting me, and I think it was her that kind of pushed me to be like more proud of my Indigenous culture. 7 years ago, I had all these questions, you know, about my mum's side and my dad's side, because my mum's from New Zealand and then my dad's, you know, Indigenous Australian. So it was like a big complex of, you know, who am I and what do I want to be? Because, you know, you get the whole racial comments, oh, you're too white, you're so pale though. Like, are you sure? It was hearing that stuff at a young age. I'd go home and I'd ask my mum, I'd be like, Mum, are you sure? And she'd be like, yes. And, you know, she'd pull out the photo book, and there was my grandma, and she was very dark-skinned. And my dad is like light-skinned and Ranger, like, and that's what I inherited from my dad. So the first time I went to one of the AIME days, Brienne, out of everyone she could have talked to, she spoke to me. So I think feeling that for the first time from someone within my culture that was dark-skinned was, I don't know, like she was accepting me, but she was also accepting like the colour of my skin. And I think that's where that original foundation of like friendship came from.
Hi, my name is Christy. Looking back 7 years ago, that was when I started my night school accounting, and I was working in Canberra for Reconciliation Australia. 2014 is also when I first heard of AIME as well. They looked like a really cool bunch of people. It really made sense. They were like hands-on, getting involved in closing the inequality for Indigenous education, and that really struck home with me, like with having to go do my studies at night to catch up, because when I was at school there was no support for that. So I applied for a job with the finance team and was knocked back. But that was the place for me. I wanted to help make a difference. So I thought I'll wait and give it another crack and wait for when the right opportunity pops up. And I didn't even have to. I got a phone call from AIME saying that something had become available and that I was good to go and have another interview.
This is definitely the funniest public speaking gig I've ever done in my life. Can you guys like just clap for a little bit so there's a bit of energy? Is that right?
It was absolutely nuts. You know, we had a lot of big personalities back in the day, like Tierra Clanton, Mal Lynch, Nat Heath. They were people that just were so loud and proud and bold, and you know, they weren't afraid to be the centre of attention or to speak and to really be heard. And so for me, it was just a complete different world than, you know, being the one Aboriginal kid in my high school. And it was a room full of loud, proud blackfellas, and I was like, this is the place I want to be.
My first impression going to AI was, wow, these people, they're not corporate, like, and they're not government. I remember walking into the auditorium and there were people up on the stage like singing and that, and everyone's like clapping. And I thought, this is a place that's going to make a change. Like this breaks the mold.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard to live in.
I probably knew that the architecture and design of AIME, what we created, I knew the essence worked at the beginning, the bridge building between someone of sort of a privileged background broadly and someone who'd been pushed outside the margins, that bridge of mentor, mentee, uni, high school, and the structure around it. I was like, this might be something. In like that first session at Taronga Zoo and watching just the way Cinco told stories and how that kind of moved, I was like, yeah, there's an energy here. And I was kind of searching for an energy of something that could be our generation's sort of movement, or one of our generation's movements. And then I knew like the structure part, I was like, oh, Once we started working in Wollongong or in different places and seeing that replicability, and then when I went to Victoria or Queensland or South Australia, I was like, oh, we actually are starting to codify a repeatability to this thing working. Sick.
Hello, I'm Ian Thorpe, and tonight's program is about an idea that is so good, I wish I could say I thought of it myself. But it's the brainchild of Jack Manning Bancroft.
The challenge was it cost a fair bit of money. Like, it ended up having to spend like $400,000 per university site to work with 100 kids. Now, it was cheaper to a lot of other programs. But if you scale that to the 180,000 kids, 160,000 Indigenous kids across all schooling systems in Australia, let alone those in care or out of school, it just wasn't going to solve the problem at its core. And just before we decided to take it globally, I was like, this is way too comfortable. This is going to be a beautiful little pocket, and I've done the succession planning, and I've got the awards, and I'm going to walk off and I can go and sit on some boards or something and watch this organisation work with 6,000 or 7,000 Indigenous kids a year and do part of it. When the potential is maybe to be a stage that could help facilitate all of the change. That could actually solve, at the heart of the issue, the challenge of equity.
So try again, this time take a vitamin. Yeah, invite him in. Welcome to the Lion's Den. And I'm Mufasa, big boss in charge of coming in like a bull. You see me raising the stock up, yeah.
Hey, my name's Dan. My last name is Single, and I have been with AIME for about 2.5 years now. 2014, hey? Wow, 2014. I had just married the love of my life. Had big plans to set up many businesses with her and travel and make like a lifestyle brand around the things that we did. It was a whole lot of fun. The world that I was so fascinated by that I just lived in such a white world. It was to like fashion and that it's fun, but it's I don't think what's the word. It's just really cliquey and small, and maybe we were just too concerned about our own happiness, not really what else is going on in the world around us. Just purely because I wasn't awake to what was going on. And then I was in Paris and had an accident and went out of a window. 4 stories high, and landed on my feet and exploded all the bottom half of my body. And then I died for 10 minutes. And came back to Australia in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, they said. It's 6-month anniversary of my accident. I was having a terrible, rough night, and I woke up in the morning and I said to my dad, I was like, last night was tough, I want to do something to get better, I want to work at it, I don't want to be in a wheelchair for anymore, this is I'm done. So I told my dad that I wanted to surf. So he laughed and said, okay, let's do it. He carried me down to the water, I paddled out on the surfboard, and on the first wave I stood up, and then fell off, and then paddled out and got another wave, and then spent an hour catching waves, and I was like, mate, you can do anything. And it was such an empowering feeling. I met Jack through a mutual friend of ours, and I was telling her about my recovery and this new fashion thing that I wanted to be doing, and she said, wow, this is such an inspiring story, you need to meet my friend Jack. I just fell in love with the team, and I just got to hear stories that I hadn't heard before, and I was just like, oh man, it's so refreshing to see different points of view on things, and we all came from in different ways, but all here for the same purpose, and it's nice. It's a beautiful thing.
I think I've just had a tiny little voice inside of me saying that you can change the world. New York is so intense. We landed there to run an event out of Chelsea Piers. The braveness of standing on a stage in New York City and saying, look, we think we can be one of the groups that transforms the face of inequity around the world. And we're here and we're going to get to work, and we've done some stuff in Australia and we think we can do it. And that braveness took us on this gnarly trip.
Friends, over the last 5 months I've been travelling around the States, having the chance to reflect on everything we've built with AIME over the last 12 years.
One day there was a video of Jack walking down a pier in America announcing that we were going global.
Tonight we're going to announce that next year we're going to run a global campaign to give away 20 golden tickets to 20 university students from 20 different countries to see if they can take our model and rip a generation of powerless people out of inequality.
I suppose, there was a lot of mixed feelings about it across the organisation. Some people were really excited by the idea.
50% of the world's wealth with 1% of the world's population is not good enough, and tonight we're going to stand up, the 150,000 odd people that are there in the AIME community back home, and we're going to say, you know what, world, we're coming with you.
Some people thought we should focus our energy on the kids here in Australia. There was a little bit of an uproar with staff members because it wasn't what AIME set out to do.
So you've nailed, you've jumped up with it, you've gone, all right, boom.
AIME was formerly the Australian Indigenous Mentoring Experience. It wasn't what they had signed up for.
Our mentors are hectic. We know we can trust them with anything. We can call them for help when we need it. And we love them. We love them.
And so to them, going global meant that the money and the fundraising was going to be spent on other cultures around the world.
It's fun to be in the AIME.
Rather than being spent here in our own backyard.
Not only are we going to nail this back home, but we're going to turn our eyes to every kid that's been left behind and see if we can build a better, fairer world for us all. That starts tonight. Get ready for the next 10 years. You ain't seen nothing yet.
So yeah, I was really surprised that was the way the organisation was going.
Bye-bye.
We're on the way to the airport. I can't wait to get to Sydney. The AIME family, hey. Everyone is here to push me. Everyone is wishing me the best. I know this is going to be a great experience. There's a lot to learn. A lot is going to happen up here, and great things are going to happen for the young kids in Uganda.
My name is Siaka Farid Ranyaga. I'm a Ugandan male of Rwandan descent. How did I come to AIME? I came to AIME as the first golden ticket winner when AIME went global.
I'm in Abu Dhabi now, on my way to Sydney. So it's happening.
7 years ago, I was more angry 7 years ago as a person. I was really angry at the way things work and the way the world operated. At the same time, I had no plan 7 years ago. I had no plan on what to do about what was happening and how to change the situation around me.
Finally here in Sydney. I can't wait to meet everyone. Everyone. I can't wait.
My auntie met Jack at Stanford.
The course I studied at Stanford was this business accelerator course for leaders around the world. When I met Siaka's auntie, Sarah, I'd just finished singing From Little Things, Big Things Grow to the whole audience of our course after telling them the AIME story, and then we handed them all out AIME hoodies and said, we'd love you to take this with you and see if we could either start this in your country or you could use this as a symbol to be able to create change around the world. And Sarah handed hers on to Siaka, and he became the first person to take AIME out of Australia's shores and landed into the continent of Africa.
After hearing Jack's story, the anger kind of relaxed, and I realized, like, if someone is doing this for people in Australia, I think it could work here. That's what that photo is about. It's from my first hoodie, my first superhero suit, my first AIME hoodie.
Hey, man. How are you, man?
Good to have you here.
I'm finally here. You're here, man. You're here.
So we are going to have university students like you who are going to mentor high school students from disadvantaged schools.
My name is Vutavino Mondo. 2014, well, that was the year I actually graduated for the first time in 2014. I was happy because the years before then, it never looked like I will ever graduate, because I remember when I passed grade 12 in 2007, I didn't know anything about university or whether I qualify or not and stuff like that. It was a symbol of greatness, even from my family, because I was the first person to graduate, even from previous generations. So it was an amazing time. So I was feeling grateful at that time.
You know, like, school is important for young children. You know, like, it's nice to learn in school.
It was a time where I also vouched myself to assist those who are less fortunate. It's one of the things that actually led me to AIME. It's more like if I could affect one person, and that person could change and maybe change someone else and stuff like that. I was a student at the University of Pretoria doing my MSc, Masters in Zoology. Then there was this email circulating about AIME going global within the university community. And then I read it and I inquired about it and applied, and the next thing I was called and then interviewed, and then I ended up going to Australia.
This is the best video ever! I can't even take it out!
I remember meeting the golden ticket winners in 2017. You know, it was just the first time I'd ever met anyone from Canada or from Africa, and it was a really cool experience to know that these people were joining the AIME team, and it wasn't going to be an extra addition, but they were actually joining what we did because they wanted to do the same thing, which was to work with kids and to support them through their schooling.
Coming to Australia was like opening your mind to possibilities, and also meeting people who are thinking like you are thinking, like I had a picture of how things are in countries like Australia, in countries like USA, like for us, when you are in Africa and you have never been there, you picture everything is perfect. And then you get there, you realize the struggle is not unique to Australia, it's not unique to South Africa, it's everywhere.
U.S. college students, we've got your ticket to change the world. For 15 years, we've been working with a team in Australia perfecting a mentoring model to change the planet.
Trying to crack the code in America is huge. America just sort of dismisses you unless the idea is big enough and bold enough. And so we went, all right, well, why don't we try and flip the script on this thing, throw it all in with one big campaign, one big gamble.
US college students, I want to give you a ticket to change the world.
And the gamble was, I've always loved Branson. I always loved how he sort of would use a big stunt to kind of move the dial, to move to the next level, to kind of move up the snakes and ladders game.
Leave
if we could charter an international flight and give Virgin to give us a deal, maybe we could get 200 universities started in America. Maybe we could crack New York open. Maybe it'll get us in the room with all these people with all this power.
Show us that, and we'll give you and 200 college students across the USA a ticket on a chartered plane to Australia to head to the world's first ever festival of mentoring.
Because I was looking at that wealth distribution and just going, so much of the money of the world is sitting in New York, and if you can get people with power to really care, if you can crack those rooms, you have a chance of starting to change the way wealth is distributed and really move the dial on equity.
This is not another radio ad. This is a chance for college students across America to get a seat on a plane that will change the world.
Atención, estudiantes universitarios. Tenemos 200 asientos libres para que tú.
If you are ready to change the world, we want to send you and 200 college students on a chartered plane.
Yeah, so that was the push.
If it's not going to be now, then when? If it's not going to be you, then who?
The campaign went live. 24 hours later, there was only one application.
I hid in my room with the lights all off and the curtains drawn and just went, oh gosh, I just broke AIME. And we didn't really have anything left. We had very little money left to play with. We'd already bet on the reserves of what we'd borrowed to try and establish AIME in America and then eventually build it back up again. And I felt like it was just the end. That's the end of the story. And after hiding for 2 days, I got hungry and went up the street in Queens to grab something to eat. Called Jace Maggs, who had driven this campaign and managed to bring together all of these amazing people. And he said, can you get on the ground and see people face to face?
Dream Team just want to test out whether there is an appetite or interest in a challenge.
24 hours later, Jack had popped a post on Slack.
I want to see who from the team would like the opportunity to potentially fly to America, be dropped into a location.
Being like, who wants to go to America and recruit people to run the program?
You have a week to get to as many college campuses in your area as possible, speak to as many people as possible, get them pumped about applying. It'd be an outrageous hustle. You'd have a taste tester of what it was like for me at the beginning with no currency and no one knowing what AIME stood for.
And so there were about, I think, 30 of us that put our hand up for it.
Good morning. Okay, so it is currently 4:25 in the morning. Heading out to Adelaide Airport to flight to Sydney, then we'll go from Sydney to LA.
Just a few hours ago, I found out.
I've been selected to go to the USA.
I have just found out
But I got the opportunity to go to the States.
How many pairs of socks do I need?
And that's when the Hooded Hustle was born.
The Hooded Hustle was absolutely crazy.
Set to hit so far 28 universities in 14 days.
Y'all think too small, I got big dreams.
The idea of it was 5 cars of people in groups of 2 to 3, sometimes 4, basically just travelling around America.
There's water all over the road.
No real plan.
We're here at Bellevue College.
San Jose University.
People were given 2 or 3 states that they had to hit.
Things are looking up here in Montana.
Sleep on couches, spend the least amount of money possible, and recruit people that want to make a difference.
Here's your ticket to change the world, bro.
Wow.
Thank you, Lord, for loving us, America.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
They did an awesome job. Like, they were reporting back video cams. Like, we felt like we were part of it. It was inspiring in that way.
Hi, I'm Daria and I'm signing up.
Yeah, within 5 minutes we'd locked in a hooded scholar.
They're born into hardship. They're born into circumstances that they have to fight to get out of just to be average.
Yeah, a whole bunch of people were just on board really quickly.
But we don't want to be average. We want to be great.
To reach the university operator, dial 0.
Especially being Mexican, and like we said earlier, like there's a lot of stigma that go around Mexicans and like who we are as people and the things that we do.
I'm just looking for the study abroad office. I'm in from Australia wanting to propose a scholarship opportunity.
So the whole idea is to give an opportunity to a change maker here.
Pretty darn sure we have students who'd love to do that.
Have you been to the office right down the hall called Unions and Activities?
No.
I just found them in the hallway, fresh off the plane from Australia.
Oh, I think this program would be like very important among this demographic group because it is a big culture shock leaving the reservation, and it's scary for a lot of youth, and they need that like guidance and that mentorship among someone that they could look up to and that they could go to for help or anything like that really, and to provide that for them would be an amazing opportunity.
Plane was leaving at 10 or 11 and Jack and Ella came to my place, packed our stuff and we got in the car, and that was a photo taking the car, and I don't really take many photos of AIME stuff, but that was just such a special moment, and there's just silence, and I think Jack must have been just wow, thinking about what's about to happen. It's like such a big moment. And then I say to the Uber driver, so you know what, like, you know this guy just hired a plane to fly 300 people to Australia. He doesn't even know what's going to happen, but we're trying to start this mentoring organisation that we've got from Australia and America. And he goes, oh yeah. And I said, no, for real. He just hired a plane. And the guy's like, really? And then Jack laughed, and I turned around and snapped a photo at that moment of him laughing.
When we get on this plane today, we try and not only start a wave, but we try and start a thunderclap across the United States. We have our friends coming in from South Africa, from Nigeria, from Rwanda, from Zimbabwe, from Uganda. So when we land, and this is the last thing I'll say before we get on the plane, let's not be the flicker of the flame. Let's not be like crazily ecstatic with our energy. Let's try and be the coals on the fire. Let's try and have this experience be something that stays with us for the next 50, 60, 70 years for our whole life. So off you go.
In the beginning, I thought this was a brilliant idea. Having a group of people all screaming freedom, all screaming I want to be free in one room, and I thought like this was a revolution, this was a movement to finally get the voices of the marginalized heard. But then something happened.
I think Jack was so excited about everything that it was, and that he'd pulled this massive vision off, chartered the plane, got people on it, had organised this whole festival, but it was all notes that he'd had in his head, and you know, the schedule and everything was curated by him, and no one else was really in the know of what was to happen once we got everyone to Sydney. Everything was going to be in Jack's hands.
What happened at that festival? I didn't sleep on the plane. I tried to do everything right, like make all the right moral decisions. So I sat at the back, I spoke to everybody, and then it was just all the adrenaline of everything to try and get there, I think, sort of got me, and I just finally buckled. I completely, I don't know what the terminology is, I was just exhausted. I literally hit the ground. I was in the fetal position after doing the first 2 hours.
From there, he got into an ambulance and in the end was hospitalised. The first day after Jack was no longer at the Festival of Mentoring anymore, myself and Ben Abertangelo were facilitating the sessions, and we had to take it back to basics. But in doing so, we uncovered, I suppose, a lot of truth and difference in who was in the room, what Indigenous/Black/brown skin meant to different people.
Because we all come from different backgrounds, we were having a hard time trying to understand one another and trying to connect.
Let's figure out a way that we can channel this energy and coagulate where these conversations are not being had, nor are they welcome or even on the radar.
It did provoke a lot of emotions, and a lot of people started talking about their culture, where they come from, in a deep sense that by the time I left that day, I knew how sensitive culture can be.
So many people from different backgrounds that had come from all kinds of struggle. It wasn't like it was just like 300 execs that have got heaps of money and they're just like happy to come and hang and talk. It was like energy flying around the place, like a lot of it. And I just don't think you can cater for all of it.
My read is that we just narrowed the frame too much. And when you narrow the frame to black or white, when you narrow the frame to who's more disadvantaged or who's more marginalised, you lose the ability to imagine your way out of that stuckness of where we are. The gift of the festival was we got that because we hadn't yet pushed into that pressure point of imagination, that word that frees us and emancipates us from literal understandings of each other's skin colour and background and allows us to actually just remove our cloaks and imagine.
Wow. I was like, yes, 2020 is HR's year. Like, we are just gonna smash this out of the park. Oh no, you weren't prepared for a pandemic.
There's no silver lining to be found in 14,000 lives lost in this country. Only the hope that these will be the worst days we will see.
Yeah, so everything that was planned for 2020 had to be rethought of, really.
We thought we'd take a look at how other education systems in countries hit hard by the pandemic are faring.
Obviously, we had lockdown because of COVID-19, which is a bit rough, having to study around 6 to 8 hours a day, just staying at home.
It's been hard to study at home due to internet problems. Not all of us can afford Wi-Fi.
It's just this really weird atmosphere. You can feel it. It's there, and it's not at the same time.
I'd say one that's really struck me is that it's really imprudent to take anything for granted, anything at all.
There was one point where a teacher on an online collaboration, and she just started bawling her eyes out because she couldn't focus or help us in any way because she was at home and she didn't have the materials to show us, and she just broke down and we didn't know what to do.
I found it really difficult, and I had actually just started writing this little message. No intent for it, just kind of wrote it because I could. And then I get a message from AIME, and they're like, yo, you want to be on this new thing called Imagination TV?
Let's pretend we're on a spaceship.
Hi, my name's Daisy. I help organise the climate strikes across the world.
Work hard and fight with me.
Choose action.
Here we go.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of Imagination TV. Now, we've started this television show to meet some of the challenges that we're all facing with isolation now.
And I was like, sure, what do I have to do? And then, I got explained, and I was like, great, because I just finished the speech.
How do you know what you know? Where did you find the information you know? Did you ask yourself, others, or the internet?
We, as humans, we're always going to encounter obstacles in our time.
We must claim our powerful political voices and let it be known that we're here to fight for justice and equality.
Change can be good and it can be bad, but it is all in the mindset and it is all up to you.
One of the hard things has just been like, in taking AIME globally, I really believe that we are in the middle of, and we're just starting to, 7 years on, sort of break new paradigms. Like there's very few organisations in the planet where there's an Aboriginal kid or young person or adult in a virtual world with a Ugandan youngster, with a South African youngster, with a refugee, migrant who's now in America, with someone from Europe, and everyone are coming together using their collective minds and their wits to work out how to solve the challenge of educational inequity. Imagination University is a free university that brings together people from all around the world and trains them and then helps them organise to then go out and try and end educational inequality as a key target, and more broadly to build a fairer world. Yeah, I think with Imagination University, I just feel like I can breathe out. I don't know how many notebooks I've been through writing, being like, what's the idea? Sitting in the subway or sitting in Kampala or watching people trying to understand all these different cultures and backgrounds and being like, how the heck do we do this? Studying all these other organisations, going to Stanford, blah, 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 blah. Endless mentoring phone calls with people, listening, writing, listening, writing. And Imagination University is just, it allows me to go, oh, maybe we found it. It's not limited by money. I know university students will want to line up to lead and to lead that thing that we've built our sort of efficacy on over the last 16, 17 years. Finally, we can work with remote schools in Australia and around the world with teachers directly. We've got the tools together. Probably the difference is
that access for education for everyone is what excites me. And this is like practical education. Because the truth is, the education system we have today does not work for us. To me, Imagination University looks like equalizing or leveling the fields for all of us to have opportunities for success and to live our dreams, no matter the background, no matter the color, no matter sexuality. So that's what Imagination University means for me. It means the future of education.
Awesome. And where do you think AIME will be in another 7 years?
In 7 years' time.
7 years from now for AIME.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to put a ceiling on AIME.
7 years' time, where will we be? Hopefully I'll still be around.
We could have a program being delivered from Mars, anything is possible.
I know it'll still be working with kids. I know we'll still be mentoring, making an impact around the world, and hopefully providing the next generation of leaders to step up and to change things.
I'd like to continue working with AIME, whether it's employee or volunteer, it doesn't actually bother me.
Truly speaking, AIME have changed a lot of lives, and when it came to Africa, you just find a niche which need to be occupied, So I think I see AIME playing a very big role in developing tomorrow's leadership.
I feel like we do one thing. I feel like all we do is create spaces to show people that it's possible.
Yeah, 7 years' time we'll be still trying really hard to create a fairer world, but we'll be on the way to one, I hope.
I think that what we're doing is going around the globe to build a coalition that can lift up the power and agency of not only Indigenous people in Australia, but people who have been forced to be outside the margins all around the world. And that'll take a bit of time. So I think, that period of breaking it and remaking it on that big adventure as we've hopped around from Uganda to South Africa, living in the States, has been a real trip. I think you don't acquire knowledge until you're kind of at the end of the road. It's not a reality until you've kind of got to that point. And that's the scary part about doing anything. You sort of take a leap. and you're flying. And for that period of flying, you're really trying to work it out and do as much good along the way as you can.